Okay, welcome to my space. In our house, right next to the foyer was a formal dining room. We are not formal people and we have a nice sized kitchen in here, so we turned it into my craft room, and I'm going to give you a tour. We used one of the big Expedits from IKEA as a room divider, and I use this for storage, and I'll go through what's in that in just a minute. But when you walk in, first thing you see is a basket with kits. These are kit clubs that I was a part of in the past, and there's just a bunch of kits in there, and there's no rhyme or reason to how they're organized, but they're in there, and they will be used someday. Next to those are my stamps. These are all Stampin' Up! Stamps. They're not organized per se, but I stamp all the images and then bind them with a binder ring, and I'll show you how this works in a minute with my clear stamps, so that I can just go through these stamped images to see which set I want to use. On top of that are my buttons. I love buttons. I've sort of forcing myself to not buy buttons because there's just so many of them in here, but I keep them there for easy access because I do use them a lot. Next to the buttons are just some transparencies. Don't use them a ton. I'm trying to use them more so they're sitting out. And then some bling. And then on the floor next to that are my thickers, and I love thickers, and I have a bunch of them. And they're roughly organized. Something fell here. They're roughly organized by color. But I'm not super particular because it doesn't bother me to go hunting and pecking for things. When you come around, you can see my garbage can and a little duster on the floor. But I've got flowers. This Coca-Cola little tin bucket came from a Christmas gift for my husband. He didn't have any use for it, so I took it over to hold my flowers. And again, they're just all thrown in there because it's kind of part of the game for me to go hunting for things. Now this black piece, we've had it forever and it's kind of fallen apart a little bit, but it is great. It holds all of my mini albums and my chipboard albums and frames and canvases and things that I want to alter someday, and they're all shoved in there, and I'm afraid to open it because things might fall out, but they are all in there ready to use. On top of it, I've got a bunch of baskets. You can see that I collected Longaberger. Don't collect it so much anymore because I spend the money on scrapbooking now, but it comes in very handy to hold all of these items. Down here in the bottom, I've got some old Heidi Swapp ghost letters. Love those things. She really needs to make more of them. Alphabets, shapes, they're all down in there. My rub ones, don't have a ton. This is all the, basically this is all the rub ones I own right there. I used to have a ton of them, but I kind of got out of it. Next to that is chipboard. These are chipboard shapes mainly. There's a couple alphabets in here, but this is mainly shapes. I have the alphabets stored elsewhere, and I'll show you that in a sec. Then next to that, these are more of my hodgepodge baskets. The first one here is just different shape, excuse me, allergies, shape die cuts. And I've just got them sitting. I'm hoping to use them more, but I do have them sitting out here in the hopes that I'll see them and remember to use them. Behind that are some metal embellishments. In the back there, those are some card kits from Stampin' Up! And then this basket here has some leftovers from different projects, and it's very messy in there. It's very hodgepodgey what's in there. And it's things that I just really don't feel like separating. If I'm too lazy, it goes in there. And you can see it's not terribly full, so I'm okay with it. Next to that is a little table. I've got my sewing machine. Then some stamps. These are clear stamps or some loose rubber unmounted stamps, and I'll show you how I organize them in a minute. And these are waiting to be organized or waiting to be put away. Some of them have already been organized, but I've used them and they need to get put away. Under that is my Clip It Up, I think that's the name of it, and it's got some mainly shaped stickers, some word stickers, theme stickers. Don't use it a ton, but it's there. And I'm saying too much, sorry. Next to that, I've got my Big Shot, and then this red thing. It's actually two pieces. I got it on clearance at Target. And it holds my dies, and there's also embossing folders in here. Again, and you can see this is kind of how I roll. Everything is just kind of thrown in a drawer. But I've got many of my different dies in here, and I can just kind of dig through for what I want. I don't have so many that it takes a real long time. Under that, I've got some old embossing plates from Fiskars, some cutting systems, some circle cutting systems. I even may have an old Colossal in there. In the next drawer are my punches. I keep my border punches separate, but these are just my shape punches. And then finally my stamps. And I organize these by either theme or season. I think my Unity ones might be separate. But I have this little album. This is what I do with my Stampin' Up! Ones as well. And it's even color-coded because I'm a dork like that. But I stamp the images here, and then instead of having to dig through all of these plastic bags, I can just go through my little book and I know what I've got. Now next to that, on this bookcase, are all my cropper hoppers, and a lot of my paper is in here. And I just finished reorganizing everything. And I've changed up, let me see if I can get in here. I've changed up how I organize things, where I now put coordinating embellishments right in the cropper hopper with the paper. So for instance, this is American Crafts, and it is the Man of the House line. And so you can see I've got some frames in there. There's more. Or chaps, that's what it was called, chaps. Some of the little tag bits, the little paper flowers. So I keep them in there with the papers. Some lines I've got more of than others, and I'll show you what I do with the lines where I've got, or the brands, I guess, where I just have a ton of it. I keep those in the Expedite. On top are the border punches. Now moving around to the window, and the light might get a little funky here with the window, but I have a basket with projects that are partially finished or projects that have already been completed and they need just a little TLC, either in the move or from my kids or from a cat. They've gotten a little damaged, so they're in there waiting to be either completed or fixed. Next to that are some of my chipboard alphabets. This is kind of chipboard part 2, and part 3 is coming later. There's also some grunge board in there. Next to that are my cats. I have that orange bag, which I used to take to crops, but my large cat adopted it as his bed, and so now it is the cat bed. And that's the kitten posing. I've got rubber stamps in here that are just mounted, but they're kind of random, things that I bought here and there. They don't come with a set. They just go in there. And again, you know, no rhyme or reason to how I do things. I just dig through what I need. So it's a little bit of organized chaos, I guess, in here. Same thing goes for my ribbon, and I've got baker's twine all in there. And it's just one big basket, and I dig through. You know, I guess I just like hunting for things. But it works for me. And that's what it's all about. I finally learned it's all about what works for me, not what works for somebody else. In the next bookcase, I have got everything to do with stamping and my inks and things like that. On top, I've got some cat's eyes. Let me see if I can show you. And Mod Podge is in here. My Stamp-A-Majigs in here. Some masks and stencils are in here. That's the top shelf. Then you can see my sprays. My stamp pads, and they're all in there. I've got some stamp cleaner and embossing powder. And then in the bottom there is some glitter. So that all, to me, it ties in together, and it's housed in one place. Now we can move to the Expedite. And I'm not going to go through every single one of these 25 squares because I'd bore you to tears. But I'll hit some highlights. I've got fabric in there. Here are, and it's kind of hard to tell, but these are albums that have got pictures in them. They've been printed, but they need to be scrapbooked. Here are some of my albums. Above that, I've got some idea books. Here are some like border strips, some fabric-y type embellishments. Then what I've done is I've taken the manufacturers that I use a lot and put them in the Expedite. So all of this is my Mind's Eye, and I have a lot of it. They're probably my favorite. I've got basic gray in here. I've got some crepe paper, pink paisley. Like I said, I'm not going to go through all of it. Pebbles, I've got a ton of them. Up here is Teresa Collins. Look for something with Teresa Collins coming soon on Craft Your Nest. But you can see it's just kind of all sitting in there. Then I've got my cardstock. I've got kind of the Roy G. Biv system going, and then I've got my neutrals, and then there's also some paper pads in there. And that circles you back around to where we started. You haven't seen my workspace yet because that, and hopefully nobody gets seasick from this, that sits right in the middle of my space. And there's my desk. I've got some Christmas paper happening, some alphabet stickers in here. The top of my desk has more adhesive than I really want to think about. Some projects that I've been working on, my pens, my tools, just your typical things that would be on top of a craft desk. Keep my trimmers underneath it. There's actually a couple glass cutting boards there. You can't see it. The Scorodol's down there. The big basket holds tags and journaling spots. I've got a lot of them, hence the really, really big basket. And then to finish it up, here's chipboard part 3. Let me let that focus in there. Chipboard alphabets, a bunch of different brands. So they all are sitting in there. And that is it. My cat will leave you out here. I hope you enjoyed this tour, and I would love to see what your craft space looks like. Bye.